G'day everyone and welcome back to this Share Cafe Hidden Gems webinar. Probably kind of too much to say about the market at the moment, but in the interest of time, probably a quick observation from our content this week. It's really a simple equation, the markets at the moment. If we are to enter a recession, with most commentators looking to 2023 for that recession, then there is more downside to this market. On average, that downside is around 33% on the S&P, as history suggests. Now, if this is to be just a bear market without a recession, which is actually quite rare, then history suggests we are at a bottom. So only time will tell. So keep an eye out on the markets next week for probably some further volatility. Okay, let's make a start. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Type them in the box provided, and let's see how we go. First up, we have EMVision, ASX code EMV. Market cap around 143 million. Stocks had a one-year return of minus 33%. We have with us Scott Kirkland, who is the Executive Director, and Dr. Ron Weinberger, who is the CEO and Managing Director. The company is developing a portable brain scanner for rapid point of care stroke diagnosis and monitoring. Over to you, gentlemen.
Thanks very much.
Next couple of slides, please.
All right, so I'll spend just a little bit of time on this slide. I think one of the most important things is we've got an independent board, and in the medical devices sector, we've got a very experienced first-rate team that I've been able to hire from Nanosonics, where I was previously the CEO, which is a $1 billion company now. In the medical devices sector. So we've got people like Robert Tiller and Farouk and Merrick who have been through the product development process all the way through to commercialization, as well as regulatory approvals and market entry. So a real first-rate team. We've had some excellent partners with us, the Australian government, GE Healthcare, who's put in money for our clinical trials, NVIDIA, which helps with our image processing, as part of their little supercomputer that's in our device, Keysight Technologies, which we'll speak about a bit later, our partnership, and the Australian Stroke Alliance, which is a consortium of which we're a part of and lucky to be a recipient of $8 million.
The next slide, please. So for imaging the brain today, the gold standard is really CT or MR, great images, but very large machines and very much stationary, nothing available at the point of care. And what you'll see on the right-hand side here is a video of our first-gen device, our first commercial unit, and it is much like an ultrasound system, so it can be operated at the bedside. It's easy to maneuver, easy to use, has a rapid scan time, and really importantly, it's safe. So there's no ionizing radiation, which means it could be used every 8 hours, every 4 hours, or more frequently, for high-risk patients with no fears of damaging radiation. It is very small, it is very mobile, and it's easy to fit in places like ICU and stroke wards where there is limited real estate. And of course, where we're heading with our second gen is out in the community, road and air ambulance. Could I grab the next slide, please? So we're focusing on stroke first, and one of the reasons is because it is such a huge health economic burden. In Australia, we have around 55,000 strokes each year. In the US, that number is quite high. It's about 800,000. And then in China, it's about 4 million. And of those strokes, 2 out of every 3 will result in some form of permanent disability. 1 out of every 8 will be fatal. So the societal burden, not just on the patient, but their families, the community, is huge. But there are very effective treatments, mostly focused on restoring blood flow in the brain, and they're time sensitive. And clinicians need to understand, is it ischemic? Is it hemorrhagic? To intervene as early as possible to improve the patient outcomes, but also after that intervention to understand the response to treatment. Have there been any complications, recurrent strokes? So we have 2 products under development. Our first gen, which you saw earlier, is our cart-based system designed for in-hospital use, anywhere where CT or MR are not accessible or practical, and there are many locations. And our second gen is a helmet system designed for road and air ambulance to deliver pre-hospital stroke care. Can we grab the next slide, please? So this will give you an idea of all the different use cases. And it's important to understand we're not trying to displace CT or MR, but really provide valuable information in all the areas, all the use cases where they're not practical. And that includes both pre-treatment, but also post-treatment. And in the post-treatment space, we're talking about patients that have received either clot-busting drugs or clot retrieval. They're in the wards, they're recovering. They might have a hemorrhagic transformation. They might have edema, swelling in the brain. And today there is no way to monitor with a device by the bedside. Really have to rely on the clinician's observation and tools like the Glasgow Coma Scale. So it's a real incremental opportunity, a value opportunity to spot complications earlier, much earlier, and intervene earlier. Now, obviously in rural and regional settings where there may be limited access to high-end CT, there is an opportunity at the front door there to support that initial diagnosis. And then where we're moving in the pre-hospital space is really bringing stroke diagnosis and treatment out into the community. And we're really targeting treatment within the golden hour. So the first hour from stroke onset, when you can have the biggest positive impact. Now, can we get the next slide, please?
So we've done quite extensive market research and looking at the health care benefits that can actually be provided to public hospitals in Australia. And we're also doing the same for the United States at this point in time. But the touch points which really come through are reduction in transportation, more efficient use of CT, improvements of being able to pull clots out, physically removing clots from the patient, blood vessels, and reduction in the length of stay. And when we add all of that up, we believe that we can receive the hospital can receive a $438,000 per annum return and saving based on the evidence that's been provided to us. So it's a financial benefit to the hospital and excludes the cost of our system. Next slide, please. So this is some recent news that we've had. We've been working with a partner called Keysight Technologies, which is a $26 billion New York Stock Exchange company. We've signed a strategic OEM agreement with them just recently. And what we've been doing is working the last 3 years with them to take the brains of our device, or the VNA as we call it, vector network analyzer, and miniaturize it to put it in the headset of the device. So you can see images on the screen there going from the belly of the device to the headset. And they've been working very closely with us with our input. Now, we've received exclusivity in the field of neuroimaging for that particular headset miniaturized VNA for the fast sweep component, which allows us to be able to have improved capture of images, as well as put into play a blood flow monitor for us called pulsatility, which is under development with us. So it's allowed us to miniaturize it, and it's allowed us to bring down the cost of goods and improve our margins for our final product. Next slide, please.
And some very, very recent news. Just over a week ago, we were awarded a $5 million non-dilutive modern manufacturing initiative grant. And this grant, you'll see on the left-hand side under the translate heading, this is an overview of the program, and it talks to all the different elements that these funds can be used to support. And that includes late-stage clinical trials, first production runs, setting up clean rooms, manufacturing facilities, payroll. There's a whole lot of elements there that will allow us to establish our commercial manufacturing capability. So it's really exciting. Obviously, in this market, non-dilutive funding is absolutely golden. And we're now working through the details of the grant, and it's subject to signing a funding agreement in the coming weeks. Next slide, please. Now, something that's been trialled throughout the world, and there's over about 35 of these, is what's known as a mobile stroke unit. This is effectively bringing the emergency department or the stroke ward to the patient, the customized multi-million-dollar truck with a 600-kilo CT in the back, delivering golden hour care. So you can see 33% of patients are being treated in that first hour, that golden hour, with this model. Unfortunately, it's not particularly scalable due to the cost and all the customization and infrastructure requirements. So that's really where our second gen device comes into play, ultra lightweight, cost-effective, operated by trained paramedics, images transmitted through telemedicine. And we're really fortunate to be part of the Australian Stroke Alliance. We're working very closely with them. They've put us in touch with a number of paramedic organisations, including Vic Ambulance and New South Wales Ambulance, where our design team spent considerable amount of time getting to understand the environment to make sure that we're developing a device that will be easy to operate and will integrate seamlessly into the workflow. And so we're expecting more product updates on our second gen device shortly, making great progress there. And as part of that alliance, we're receiving $8 million in non-dilutive funding through the Stroke Alliance. We've got 6.8 still to access, and as well as all their clinical expertise. We had 3 key members, Professors Jeff Don and Steve Davies, Dr. Angela Santos, join our clinical advisory board recently as well. If we grab the next slide, please.
So I won't spend too much time on this because it's pretty technical, but I think the walk away from this is that we had a foundational clinical trial that was done at Princess Alexandra Hospital. And what we were able to show was that our imaging system was able to localize a stroke, whether it's hemorrhagic or ischemic or a bleed or a clot, in comparison to CT or MRI. And if you have a look at the panels with EMV heading, you can see that we can see anatomical details. So these are the first anatomical features using microwave imaging in the world. And you can see the blue dot, which shows that it's a ischemic stroke, and a red dot, which shows that it's a hemorrhagic stroke. So we can tell the difference between the two, and we can see at high contrast, and we can see with anatomical detail. So good result all around.
Next slide, please. So now we're moving to a much larger study, circa 300 patients. We're aiming to start that next quarter, Q3. There'll be 2 legs to this study, a pre-validation focused on usability, hardware verification, and then we move into sensitivity, specificity validation. And at the end of this process, our expectations will be going to the FDA, the TGA, and CE marking for our first regulatory submissions to then commercialize our product, targeting calendar year 24. And you'll see a number of milestones upcoming, product developments. We're shortly putting in our ethics application, inking our first agreements with the clinical sites. We're expecting our first site to be Liverpool Hospital in Sydney. There'll be further engagement with the FDA, as well as ongoing collaborations, partnerships, and then, of course, patient enrollment. And as we start enrolling into these studies, our expectation, much like our earlier pilot study, we'll be able to provide plenty of insights and updates throughout the study. And get the next slide, please.
So this goes to what our commercial model is. We're looking at 2 possible approaches. One is the classical capital equipment and consumables model. We can do that directly or with a distributor, and we've been talking to a number of potential partners such as GE, Siemens and Philips. We're looking at pricing our device to $150,000. We have a consumable cap, which we're looking to bring in tens of thousands of dollars per annum to the value of our device, and maintenance and service, which account for about 15% of the total revenue generated on an annuity basis. And we have the monthly subscription model, which you can see is all inclusive of all of those different components. Our first gen device has the potential to be in 10,200 sites. We are looking to focus on the comprehensive stroke units, which are 1,600 sites in the United States, and starting there. But if you have a look, you can see that there are substantial opportunities, as well as tens of thousands of opportunities for ambulances on the right-hand side of the slide. Next slide, please.
So before we take questions, I think the key takeaway is we believe we're in the strongest position we've ever been in, and we've got some fantastic non-dilutive cash funding sources between the ASA and that Modern Manufacturing Initiative grant. And importantly, all management and directors have significant skin in the game. So Tim, we're happy to take some questions now.
Great, thanks, gentlemen. Can you give us some colour on the price of the device and how that kind of compares with some potential competitive products out there?
Sure. So we've tried to price it similar to an ultrasound device. So Mid-price ultrasound is around $150,000. So we've looked to price it there. If you're looking at CT, you're looking at upwards of $800,000, and an MRI, you're talking about millions of dollars. So we're really a fraction of the price of the CT and MRI that is traditionally being used for stroke evaluation.
And do the devices need some sort of specialist to operate them?
No, they don't. Actually, we've designed them so that it can be used on the ward by nurses. They can be used by clinicians with about half a day's training.
And the congratulations on the funding from both the government and the Stroke Alliance. Can that get you through to that commercial stage?
Yeah, it gives us a really, really good runway. So yeah, that's, I think, I'm not sure if we mentioned it earlier, but the clinical studies themselves are really low cost. So our first study with 50 patients at one site was around $350,000. So we're not looking at a huge cost for these multi-site 300 patient studies. And the grant, of course, we expect will allow us to build the machines and establish our first production run.
And there's always mention of MicroX when we mention EMVision. So how do you see the competitive landscape?
Sure. So there's a few companies aiming to make CT or X-ray or CT based solutions smaller and more mobile. I mentioned before they're currently in a mobile stroke unit is a mobile CT, about 600 kilograms. They're still very large, and we imagine even as a CT is reduced in size, to accommodate it, an ambulance would require not insignificant customization. And ambulance layouts vary quite significantly between states, let alone countries. And then, of course, you require a radiographer on board to operate it. So our value proposition is really much lighter, potentially carried in a backpack in the ambulance, can be brought out even into the patient's home, operated by the trained paramedics without requiring a radiographer, and images transmitted through telemedicine. In terms of EM, there are a handful of companies in that space. We believe we're ahead of the pack with a more mobile device, and from what we can see publicly, higher quality output and images.
And just before we finish up, what sort of data and what's the next stage with the FDA, and what sort of data do they need to see?
So we're a class 2 device, so low to moderate risk. We're going down the de novo pathway. And the interesting thing about the de novo is we need to generate data to support our claims. So it's not a 510K where we're claiming equivalence with a CT or an MRI. It's really about generating data to support our intended use, or the labeling, what we say our device can do. And as we get that ethics approval to begin these studies, we'll put out more information in the market around our ambitions for these studies.
Great. Thanks, gentlemen. That's all we have time for. A really fascinating story. We'd love to have you back on later in the year.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Tim.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay, next up we have Torque Metals, ASX code TOR, market cap around $18 million, newly listed over the last 12 months, it looks like. We have Cristian Moreno with us, who is the CEO. The company is a mineral exploration company focused on the discovery of high-value gold deposits in well-established mineral provinces throughout Australia. Cristian, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim. Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Cristian Moreno. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I want to take you for attending Chair Cafe webinar, and in the next 10 minutes, I will present some of the exciting prospects at the Paris project. However, due to time constraints, we won't be able to present the entire story, okay? If you wish to hear the full potential of Torque, please contact us via email at the address listed at the end of the presentation. So next slide, please. This is a bit of disclaimer, and yeah, the capital structure, that is good. So we got shares in issue around 77 mils. What is important about this slide is not only the cash that we got at the moment, that is $4 million, but also the stability on the share price, correct? So apart from the stability of the share price, we don't have any debts in bank, and we got enough money for exploring the next 12 months. So next slide, please. Yeah, where are we located? What is Torque? Torque is located in the gold fields. We are located in the best jurisdiction possible for finding the next world-class gold potential, okay? We are in Kalgoorlie, close to Kalgoorlie, 20 kilometers southeast of Kalgoorlie. And also we got another project that is located in Southern Cross that is called Bullfinch. But this time I'm going to focus the presentation on the Paris project due to time constraints. Next slide, please. So yeah, the Paris project. Moving on to the Paris project, yeah. 20 kilometers, 12 kilometers southeast of St. Ives, 90 kilometers southeast of Kalgoorlie. We are on the Boulder-Lefroy Fault Corridor. As you may know, the Boulder-Lefroy is a jurisdiction with a high gold grade potential. So we are in the best place possible for finding the next gold deposit. And I think that we are gonna find it, to be totally honest. Next slide, please. So yeah, what is the Paris project? So we got 6 different projects, 6 different prospects inside the Paris project. The prospects are called Observation, the next one is called Caruso, the next one is called Paris, the next one is Paris South, Carreras and Pavarotti. As you can see at the bottom right of the screen, those prospects are located in a sort of gold corridor. So we got the potential to connect this sort of 6 projects in just one project. And the size of this connection could be up to 14 kilometers. So it's amazing, the potential is huge. And what I need to do there is just drilling and keep drilling over there. Additionally to this, it's important to mention that we got 9 mining licenses. If you are in the industry and if you want to obtain a mining license, this is very difficult nowadays. The process is quite long and it's quite expensive just for obtaining one. Here, we got 9 mining licenses. So yeah, next slide, please. So yeah, inside this Paris project, we got 6 different prospects, as I mentioned before. The first prospect is called Paris. What is important about Paris? I just want to ask you something. How many companies do you know that include 27 meters of 8.16 gram per ton? How many companies with this sort of high gold grade? We got grades of for 24 meters, 11 gram per ton, 18 meters, 2 gram per ton, 27 meters, almost 9 gram per ton. This is a high jurisdiction gold. We got in this Paris project, the best project possible so far. Sort of mineralized structure, high grade, and the size of this project, for instance, Paris prospect, is almost 100 meters so far, because we got another little drill hole over there that is giving me also grade. And if we include this grade in this mineralized structure, we could have up to 280 meters and still the structure is open. So it is quite remarkable, this project. This project is important for us. Paris is giving us the best grade so far. And in the following months, we are gonna drill here for tracking this fantastic structure. Moving on the next slide, we got the observation prospect. So it's not only Paris, yeah, it's not only the Paris prospect, it's also observation. What is observation? Again, 9 meters almost in 12 gram per ton, 9 meters, 4 gram per ton, 6 meters, 6 gram per ton, 4 meters, 16 gram per tons. How many companies do you know with 2 prospects of this sort of grades? Not so many, really. So there are in the market so many companies saying, oh my goodness, I got a fantastic result, exciting result. 1, 2, 3 meters, 3, 4 gram per ton. We got 27. Torque Metals got a really amazing potential. So here in observation, 300 meters so far, the structure is still open. I don't have the size of the structure in north-south direction. I need to do more drilling over there, but the idea is to keep tracking the structure. It's another project, and what is really important here as well, check the depth of the mineralization. 57 meters, 93 meters, 51 meters, 54 meters. It's quite shallow mineralization. So the potential of having an open pit project here is quite real. Moving on the next slide, I got the Caruso prospect. So yeah, it's not only Paris, it's not only the observation. Now we got another prospect, Caruso prospect. 15 meters, almost 4 grams per ton. 9 meters, almost 4 grams per ton. 8 meters, 2 grams per ton. What else? 6 meters, 2 grams per ton. High gold grade here. Shallow mineralization still could be connected with this sort of potential gold corridor that we got in the eastern side of our tenements. And shallow mineralization, if you go there right now, you can go and generate an open pit project right here and yeah, just extract the gold. But our intention is to keep increasing the size of the mineralization. So gents, it's not only Paris, it's not only observation, it's also Caruso, high gold green mineralization here. So passing on the next slide, we got Carreras and Pavarotti. So at the beginning of the year, we did an OGA survey. I sort of modeled this OGA survey. What is OGA? Geochemical analysis. I had some sort of gold anomalies up to 60 ppb, which is important for a soil analysis. And I got 3 new projects, all of them connected in this sort of potential gold corridor and the eastern side of our tenements. And these tenements are called Paris South, Carreras, and Pavarotti. So what are we going to do is go in there to these sort of anomalies, put a couple of drill holes over there and try to connect this sort of mineralization area with the high gold grade sort of drilling that we got over there. What is really important about this slide is that particular Pavarotti. That Pavarotti is connected with a proterozoic dike. What is a proterozoic dike? You just call it a rock. Connected with the same rocks that the Higginsville project is got at the moment. Higginsville with 1.77 million tons of gold. And yeah, we got a connection in terms of a structural connection, in terms of geology, and in terms of mineralization. So the potential Pavarotti is good. Stay tuned with Pavarotti because I believe that is gonna be a good project and a massive project. Passing on the next slide, we got nickel potential. So Paris is not only gold. Yeah, we are a gold exploration company, but my responsibility and the board responsibility is to explore anything that is inside of our tenements. So we received an electromagnetic survey that was done by the Geological Survey of Western Australia. And this survey was just electromagnetics. But what is electromagnetics? For put it simple, if you see a blue color, rocks that cannot conduct electricity. But if you see red colors, rocks that can conduct electricity. So let's go to Cassini. What is Cassini? Cassini is from Mincor. Cassini got 1.53 million tons of nickel of 4%. As you can see at the top left of the image over there, there is a red anomaly that is a sort of mushroom shape. And that red anomaly is indicating the presence of a metallic conductor because it's red, as I mentioned before. But if you go to the Paris tenements, correct, there are 2 anomalies. Please compare these anomalies. Please compare the colors. Please compare the shape. They are quite similar, okay? So we not only got 1 anomaly, we got 2 anomalies. And what are we going to do is just to test the magnetic sort of conductivity over there. We are going to do a geophysics survey over there. Ground electromagnetic survey is already signed. We are going to do it with gap geophysics and resource potential. It's going to be done at the end of June. And after doing this, we are going to put a couple of diamond holes over there for testing this magnific potential. So if you want to invest in torque, this is the best moment to do it. Okay, passing on the next slide, please. You may wonder, these guys really got potential. This guy is just speaking a lot. And in fact, yes, we got nickel in our tenements. We got potential in our tenements of having nickel. This is the metallic conductor that we could have in our tenements. So yeah, I was checking our database, historical database, and we got grades of 8 meters, 0.85% of nickel, 8 meters, 0.75% of nickel, and 6 meters, 0.74% of nickel. But please check shallow mineralization, 12 meters, 8 meters, 4 meters. So if I got these grades with that shallow mineralization, what is underneath it? What is the grades of nickel that could have here? So again, I'm going to go there to Domingo. I'm going to do ground electromagnetics. I'm going to test the potential, and I'm going to do put a couple of diamond holes. Next slide, please. So yeah, this is the geophysical survey we are going to do there. We are going to test the anomaly of Melchior, test the anomaly of Domingo, and put a couple of diamond holes over there. And next slide, please. And yeah, this is our intended drilling and exploration campaign. So we are going to drill, we intended to drill up to 9,000 meters in the next 12 months. But if something happens previously, we are going to, I don't know, get crazy because it's going to be massive, yeah? So the plan is to drill up to 9,000 meters. We are going to test the potential of having this sort of gold corridor in the eastern side of our tenements. Additionally, we are going to test the nickel potential with ground electromagnetics and 4 or 6 diamond holes. And also we are going to do OGA surveys in order to increase the size of the potential exploration campaigns that we can do in our project. We are ready to work. So moving on the next slide, we got almost 4 million in the banks. We are totally covered in terms of cash. I do believe, and the board believe, that we need more money in order to test all these sort of anomalies and test all these sort of structures. So yeah, we just need to drill. And the promise that we can give you, if you want to invest in the future of Torque, or if you want to stay tuned in the company, is that we are going to work hard. And if we are working hard right now, we are going to work even harder in order to explore these tenements and in order to give you the next gold discovery or perhaps nickel. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much, and happy to receive any question, team.
Thank you, Cristian. You're obviously making your mark on the company, because I don't think I've seen 2 gold assets named after Italian opera singers in the past. And you are a newly appointed CEO. What attracted you to Torque?
That is amazing. So my boss is Ian Finch. He is a guy with more than 60 years of experience in the industry. And as soon as I heard this story, I said, okay, this guy, he loves to talk. Yeah. So I went to home and I said, I'm going to check this story and let's see if it's real. And then I did my analysis. I checked the rocks and I said, oh my goodness, this could be real. It's connected to same eyes. Yeah. Same rocks, same geochem, same geophysics and mineralization. And I said, why no? Let's trust in this project. I want to live the rest of my life here in Australia. This is the best country in the world. Perth is the best place in the world. So yeah, let's do it. Let's go for Torque. Yeah.
And you are spoiled for choice here. That the numbers are great at kind of shallow depth. So how do you kind of balance out that need to drill over a massive area and balance that with your funding?
That is an excellent question, Tim. So I can go right now and put as many drill holes as I want to track this wide mineralization, yeah? But my intention is think bigger. I want to think positive. I want to think bigger. And can you imagine if we can create another project like Kalgoorlie open pit? Something big. Can you imagine if we can connect this sort of anomaly or gold corridor that is in the eastern side of our tenements and generate, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 kilometers of an open pit project? So that's what I want to do. I'm a really ambitious guy. I want to make history here in Australia, and I want to take Torque Metals to the sky. Yeah.
I've seen that open pit out there. That is a very big goal you have.
Yeah.
So the focus now is what is the exact focus now, and have you got any milestones and timeframes you can talk to?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Tim. Yeah, in the next 12 months, we are going to do at least 4 drilling campaigns. And apart from that, we are going to do geophysics, as I mentioned before. And also we are going to do some diamond holes for testing this geophysics. So our intention is start drilling at the end of June. We are intended to drilling at the end of June. The next drilling campaign will be in September, November, and the next one will be December, and the next January. So we are going to work continuously for giving grades to the market. Yeah.
A great story, Cristian. That's all we have time for. Really enjoyed it, and we will follow with interest.
Thank you very much, team. Thank you very much to the audience. And I apologize for my Colombian accent. Sometimes it's difficult to understand, but yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Totally understood everything you said. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Kalgoorlie Gold Mining, ASX code KAL, market cap of $10 million. Hasn't been listed for 12 months. We have with us the Managing Director, CEO Matt Painter. The company is a mineral exploration company engaging in the acquisition, exploration and development of mineral resource projects throughout Kalgoorlie region of Western Australia. Matt, thanks for your time. Over to you.
Thanks very much, Tim, and it's great to be here on Share Cafe today. And look, it's a really good opportunity for us to take you through Kalgoorlie Gold Mining. We're a brand new listing as of November last year, and we're incredibly busy and we're incredibly focused on the range of projects that we've got out around the eastern goldfields of Western Australia. Could I go to the next slide, please? Very quickly, there's the disclaimer forward-looking statement. You can read into that if you like. All the content of this presentation, and indeed its full details, are available in today's announcement to the ASX, which you can see on our website and other platforms. So Cal Gold, that's us. We've got some high quality gold assets. We've got walk-up drill targets and got an experienced team. We're all in. Everything's based in Kalgoorlie. And we've got plans to rapidly build a robust gold resource base throughout the region. You can see there on that very small map, but most of our projects, or all of our projects, are not too far out of Kalgoorlie. That is our base, and that's where we are focused on this range of projects that are in some really quite incredible areas. Today, we're going to talk about our lead project, the Bulong-Taurus gold project, where we're targeting outcropping and near surface gold just outside of Kalgoorlie. Next slide, please. So very briefly, this is our range of projects. We are accelerating discovery of gold resources near Kalgoorlie Boulder. Our projects vary from walking distance from Kalgoorlie at the Ningamaya project, just outside of town, to about 3 hours drive from Kalgoorlie up at Perrinvale. So really our focus is entirely on the region. It's clearly Australia's premier gold province, and it's certainly one of the most prolific gold provinces in the world. We can really focus in and zoom in on some incredible areas just outside of town. Within our portfolio, we've got a bunch of projects that are clustered around the regional structures, such as the Laverton Tectonic Zone Group. Our projects there have got bounded to the north by the Sunrise Dam Gold Mine, and to the south by the Ramelius's Rebecca project. And we're also looking, we're throwing the net a bit wider as well. So some of our projects are conceptual golden granite targets, which we will be testing in the coming months. We've got a really good handle on the scientific reasoning behind why the gold mineralisation is where it is, and we're zooming in on particular areas so that we can get the most bang for our buck throughout the region. Next slide, please. So I'll take you directly into Bulong-Taurus. It's only, as you can see on the map here, it's only 30 to 35 kilometres to the east of town. It's a sealed road all the way out there, so extremely good access. It's been mined by prospectors since the 1890s, almost continuously. It's an old gold mining centre. It had its own, it's had a lot of workings throughout the area. We've got gold rights on 39 tenements, but comprising both mining licenses and prospecting licenses, and we've got that very easy access from Kalgoorlie as well. I'll be focusing in on our main target area where there's been a historic resource pre-JORC, so we're not quoting that yet. It needs to be thoroughly revised, but that's at La Mascotte in the centre of the diagram there. And some of the new discoveries that we've just announced today at Knock Hill, Thruxton, Royal Star and Bonneville. There are some brand new results that have just come through on our first pass testing, and we're really excited by some of these. You can see the outline of our tenure there. It's comprised of quite a number of tenements throughout the area. And if we go to the next slide, you'll be able to make out that tenement outline at the very top there. You can see the Taurus Mining Centre in Kalgold. We've got fantastic opportunity in this region, and partly because of where we sit. Pardon me. The Goddard Fault controls the gold mineralisation throughout the area, and it connects through to the Daisy Milano mine at Mount Munga to the south, where that's over 1 million ounces at 13.9 grams per tonne. That area is run by Silver Lake Resources. They also look after a good chunk of the Majestic gold mining centre to the south as well. So we've got some fantastic neighbours through here. At Glandore, to the south of us, Horizon's not long picked up that ground, and then to the west of us at Bulong, you've got Black Cat Syndicate working out there. So some really high quality neighbours there in the region for a very good reason, and that reason is because it is so prospective. We know that the mineralisation throughout the area is on almost like a fractal system of faults that branch off. The Goddard fault, that's where the gold mineralisation sits. That's what Daisy Milano is, and that's what we think La Mascotte is as well, and the rest of the Taurus Gold Mining Centre. Can we go to the next slide, please? So zooming right in on La Mascotte, what you can see here is a whole series of drill holes. The circled ones, both the white and the dark circles, are Calgold's holes, and there's a bunch of historic holes in the area as well. We've already undertaken 3 phases of drilling since listing in November last year. And so what we've done, and we're doing it in a very systematic way, is to reassess this entire La Mascotte area and build it up to a new resource with the view to taking it further beyond that. So the phase 1 RC program that we actually completed just before listing confirmed the thick zones of near surface oxide mineralisation. And that was right in the guts of where all those drill holes sit. We've since then started striking out and working out what the extent of La Mascotte is. So the phase 2 and phase 3 holes in the La Mascotte area actually focused on expanding that footprint. And what we've done, we've actually pushed this out from roughly a 250 metre strike length to nearly a 700 metre strike length now. That gives us a lot of scope for building a bigger and better resource than what there was previously. We can see that the mineralisation is tapering to the north and south. We're quite satisfied that we have the bulk of it. However, it is still open, both to the north and the south. But we're in a very good position now to go chasing it down dip, and that's not far to go down dip, I can tell you. I'll just show you some of the results that we have here. If we go to the next slide, please. So you can see that we have very, very shallow mineralisation. This thing outcrops. We can actually walk up to some of these outcropping veins and chip gold off of them. Some of the intercepts are absolutely beautiful, and you can see some of the, 10 metres at 39 grams per tonne. That's 128 metres. That's the down dip extent. That's about as deep as the mineralisation is here. It hasn't been tested deeper than that. But near surface, we're finding 3 metres at 7.25 grams from 11 metres in ARC 70, 2 metres at 16 grams at 43 metres. We are hitting quite a lot of very high quality, high grade mineralisation near surface, and it's oxide. It's oxide material, which is very much in demand throughout the region. You can see in the yellow writing beneath there, slightly obscure, it's got where the cross section is. Can we go to the next slide, please? And what you can see here is a cross-section through La Mascotte, showing some of the mineralisation. What we can see at depth is the BD6 and MRC 94 drill holes. They're some of the highest grade holes there. Going off section to the northwest, it's wide open. And what we've got there is an area that just hasn't been drilled. There's quite a few holes through some parts of this area. A lot of them aren't deep enough. And what you can see in the top left of that cross section there, I've actually highlighted where there's active prospector workings. We have a series of partners, prospector partners, who work in with us. They are actively retrieving gold from the area that I've labelled there. And you can see there aren't much in the way of, there's not much in the way of drilling, and there's certainly not much in the way of fleshing that out through there. But we're putting together a bunch of details on that at the moment. We're hoping to say something to the market about that more shortly. But we have plenty of opportunity to check these shallow areas to the west of where we are, to check if there's a hanging wall zone, an upper zone, but also to take this thing to depth. So we've got outcropping gold. We've got a shallow westward dip. Very easy to put a pit shape around this. And that's one of the things that we will be working towards assessing, and we're doing that right now. So the gold mineralisation is entirely within 150 metres from surface at its very deepest at the moment. So lots of opportunity to extend this down. It's wide open at depth. The highest grades are at depth. And like I say, we've got that incredible open pit potential there. Where are we going to expand this now? Like I say, we've worked out the footprint to the north and south. Let's drill deeper and find out. I want to know from this particular deposit, is the oxide zone the main play? How do these surface workings fit in? Do they make another zone? And is this the tip of the iceberg? Have we got a lot further to go on this thing? And I really suspect that we do. Next slide, please. So look, I'm not intending for you to read through all of this. The point here is that what we have is a 5-point plan to define resources at La Mascotte and take it further. Clearly, once we get to the initial resource stage, we need to assess where we go with that. And if we are hitting deeper, higher grade mineralisation, the metallurgy of that is likely to be different to the near surface oxide mineralisation. That requires additional work. So let's get ourselves through to an initial resource on the area and then see where we go. So we've established the gold mineralisation footprint in grey. We're in the process right now of defining those structural controls on gold mineralisation. That's where we're sitting right now. And then we're defining additional surface targets as well. Our next step, and this is really important, is that we're going to test that mineralisation at depth. And that's our next drill program coming up in the coming months. In the area, there was a 1990s pre-JORC resource. Our work is making sure we expand upon that footprint to boost that up. And so the next step for us to do that is actually boost it out, boost it forward, and get it going down dip. Can I go to the next slide, please? So the whole story isn't just about La Mascotte, but we think we're onto a system here. And it's a system that's largely exposed in an old mining area and that hasn't been tested for a long, long time. We're the first company in at least several decades to have the full coverage of the entire Taurus goldfield. And it's probably the first company that's ever held the whole lot. But certainly, this gives us an incredible opportunity to assess that entire mining centre as a feature, as something that we can take full advantage of. And these are just a couple of excerpts on this screen from our new discovery areas. So Knock Hill, we put 3 holes in. It was very much a first pass. We identified these structures and identified a bit of geochemistry in the area. So what we've done is generated, or for this last program, we generated 5 new targets. 4 of these have exceptional shallow first pass results. And you can see some of that. I mean, 12 metres at 2.09 grams per tonne from only 4 metres depth. So you can almost get down there with a shovel. It's quite incredible. And then seeing some of the others, Thruxton, for example, we've got 4 metres at 5.79 grams per tonne. It's only 32 metres down. And clearly we need to flesh this out and see what's going on through these areas. And that Thruxton intercept was part of a broader zone, or all of them parts of much broader zones that need to be tested. Look, we'd be happy on first pass exploration of some of these. If you get anything above 0.1 grams per tonne, you'd be thinking, oh, we need to do some more work on this. To get the numbers that we've got here is quite incredible. And for us to actually hit that first time round in 4 out of the 5 prospects tested, we're doing something right out there, and we're going to continue to do that. We've got a swag more targets for us to check out. We'll be hitting those as we go, but you can see just some of the numbers that we're getting through here are quite incredible. I should note also that at the 5th prospect, we actually had some very good anomalism there as well. Can we go to the next slide, please? Don't worry too much about this area, but you can see this full diagram. It just gives you an idea of the amount of work that we're doing, but we've just got this go-getter attitude. We've drilled 92 holes already since listing, including diamond and RC holes, 400 auger holes. We've got 10 targets that we've actually drilled and 4 new discoveries to be followed up. There's going to be plenty of news flows coming on. We've got a rough timeline down the bottom there. We're going to try and bring some of that RC drilling forward because we've already got a good handle on where these targets are, and we'll be testing them soon. Can I go to the next slide, please? One of our defining features and unique selling points, if you like, is that Kalgoorlie Gold Mining has an office in West Kalgoorlie. That's our field base. And with our West Cal office, it means that our resident geologists, we've got 2 living in town, spend more time in the field and not in Perth. It's a big selling point for us. We're out in the field constantly. Next slide, please. And just some of the other gold project areas. You can see that we're working, I won't go through them now, but we've got some incredible potential out in these, and we're going to be working those up as we progress through the projects, and we're working all these up in parallel at the moment. Pingen in particular, out in the west there, like I say, we've got Ramilli's 1.1 million ounce Rebecca gold deposits to the south that was picked up when Apollo Gold was taken over recently. Sunrise down to the north, it's quite an amazing area. Next slide, please. There's our share price performance. You can see, as with many, we've taken a bit of hit with the recent market conditions, but what we see here, or what I see here anyway, is that I don't think it's indicative of our assets, our activity, our results, or our potential. And I think what we've got here is a very good opportunity for investors before we commence drilling the high-grade shoots that Lama's got to get in now, while the share price is relatively low. I want to see this thing move in the right direction. Next slide, please. So very, very briefly, just our investment proposition. Outcropping gold mineralisation near Kalgoorlie, the money goes into the ground. We're just making these projects happen, and consequently, there's going to be news flow. We've got the Kalgoorlie office, Kalgoorlie geologists, more time in the bush and less in the office, and the project portfolio is quite incredible, offers plenty of upside. And the last slide, please. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Matt. We're actually out of time, but probably one big question, if you don't mind. How busy is it out there, and how difficult is it to get staff and equipment? And can you narrow your focus to move into production quicker? It seems like a massive area with a lot of drilling to continue.
Look, it is difficult to get hold of people at the moment. We've got 2 geologists and 1 field hand. We've been trying to get extra field hands for a little while, and we think we've got a couple of extra people coming on now. But the fact that we're all based in Kalgoorlie is great. We've got very good relationship with our being in Kalgoorlie. We've got good relationships with drilling companies and what have you. We can get hold of them very, very rapidly. We can pick up the phone and call them, and it's enabled us to get in there and do work to move towards production. Clearly, that's what everybody wants to do, and we can start by doing that at Lama's, and that's why we're focusing on that area. But what we want to do is expand that out and bring that together as one large system, which we can see that it actually is. Focus on Lama's and pull it out from there.
Excellent, Matt. That's all we have time for. Have a nice weekend, and we'll follow your story with interest.
Thanks very much, Tim.
Okay, next up we have, let me just adjust this. Next up we have Tempest Minerals, ASX code TEM, market cap around 26 million, 1 year return of 160%. We have with us the Managing Director, Don Smith. The company is a mineral exploration company that explores for precious, base and energy metals. Don, over to you. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Tim, and thanks to the previous presenters and to Share Cafe. All right, Tempest Minerals, I suspect a few listeners may have heard us before, but I'll proceed as if no one has heard the story before. If we go to the next slide, please. And I'm sure everyone has read a disclaimer. You can do that in your own time. Quick message on this slide is that we have a fantastic board. We've got really experienced people, all the team mining professionals that have been there and done that previously, including the high profile Brian Muller at the top there. And as I think Tim was alluding to before, we had some modest market interest a month or so ago because of some drilling that we did. We still have a fairly tight structure and a modest market cap for the things that we're doing. We also did a cap raise recently, so we're fully funded for our exploration projects going forward. Next slide. So there's a quick overview of our projects. We're purely WA based at the moment. On the left-hand side, we have our gold and base metal projects, and on the right-hand side, we have our lithium and other commodity projects. All up, that's about 1,000 square kilometres. Next slide, please. So without a doubt, our focus, and has been for some time, is on the Yalgoo region, which is a mere 4 or 5 hours drive north of Perth along the Great Northern Highway. And one of the things that attracted us to this area originally was the prolific amount of infrastructure associated with the large number of world-class projects in the area. So within our project area there, we've got rail, water, power, telecoms, you name it, and it's quite pleasant exploration, put it that way. We go to the next slide, please. So the headline story that everyone wants to hear about is the Malaya project. So for anyone who isn't aware, we have a number of world-class projects that I mentioned earlier, including the polymetallic Golden Grove mine at the top there, which is a copper, zinc, gold, silver, plus or minus other elements. And that one's been running for about 40 years. It was one of Australia's biggest IPOs last year, 29 metals. And through some innovative work we did a couple of years ago, we realized that the rocks that contain not only that, but other large mines continue there where it says Malaya. And that entire area was previously mapped by the government geologists as a granite. We now know that that's incorrect, and there's a lot more going on there. And it's not just been underexplored, it's never had a lease on it before. So we recently put the first 2 drill holes ever into this whole new province. You go to the next slide, please. And a bit of background behind the way we roll, as we've mentioned, a few of the other presenters have mentioned their solid science, which is really exciting. And we are the same. We strongly believe in data and technology, and also doing things in a systematic fashion. And I think that we're really seeing the results of that approach. So you can see from 2020, we had nothing. We went out and we did the work in the bush, and then we come up with dozens and dozens of targets at the Orion, including the Orion one, which we recently drilled. Next slide, please. So what caught the market's attention a few months ago was that we drilled 2 holes. So these were government co-funded, and within the first day of drilling, actually, we hit our first mineralization. So these holes weren't technically designed for looking for mineralization. These were scientific holes to get a stratigraphic column through an entirely new province. Of course, every geologist always hopes to hit something in every drill hole, and indeed we did. So the first hole's number 72. We got about 8 meters of semi-massive magnetite and sulfides, including appreciable copper. And similarly, at about 420 meters, we got another 10 meters of similar material. And the second hole basically repeated those results. What we haven't talked a lot about recently is that we've got widespread disseminated sulfides throughout both drill holes. So we're looking at quite a large system happening here, and we're doing a lot of work to try and understand that at the moment. Next slide, please. So there's a quick visual summary of what's been done. As I said, it's only 2 holes into a whole new province, but we've got dozens of targets that are identical to this. And you can see that there's quite a bit of mineralization. That was only visual estimates of the mineralization. We're still awaiting the assays, but we're expecting those in the coming week or 2. If we can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, so I mentioned earlier, we're doing a lot of work on understanding what's going on there. There's one of our team vigorously logging the core there. So we're doing extremely detailed structural, mineralogical, using a lot of innovative scanning techniques, just trying to get every little bit out of these 2 holes, and ensuring that our work going forward will be of the greatest quality. Next one, please. Excellent. So there is a bit of I'm not even starting to touch the surface, to be honest, of all the targets we have, but you can see there's a whole bunch of red circles there, and Orion, where we just drilled, is only one of them. So we're expecting to have more exciting results coming forward. Certainly in the next 6 to 12 months, we've got multiple geophysics programs going on. We've got people in the field almost constantly, and we're going to have multiple drilling programs, including Diamond RC, which will be testing both new targets and also extending out the work we've already done. Next slide, please. So prior to Malaya, we also have a string of other project areas within our Yalgoo tenement portfolio. And one of those is the Euro project right here, where we just recently released some pretty exciting results there. So this area was drilled in the 90s and 2000s, and there was widespread gold detected in most of that drilling, but it certainly wasn't tested thoroughly. And if we go to the next slide, we followed up some of those exciting results in the past. So we had sort of 17, 18, 20 meters at a gram or a couple grams. And we did some diamond drilling so we could understand why those results were in the historic percussion drilling. And given what we saw in some of the core, we weren't really surprised to find that it was polymetallic, but there was extensive sulfides. And we also had some great gold results there, 2.9 meters at 4, including 1.5 meters at nearly 7 grams. So this is definitely quite a mineralized system, but you can see from some of those other numbers on the left there that there's a lot of other stuff going on as well. So we're currently trying to assess what has caused that. But the presence of copper, zinc, arsenic, and almost economic level magnetite iron is certainly something that's, yeah, it's definitely got our interest, and we've got more drilling planned to follow up on this coming forward. Next slide, please. So the Euro project's also quite large. It's I guess a couple hundred square kilometers, and the northeastern corner is the only area where we've done any serious work. The rest of the project is pretty much unexplored, including the perhaps unfortunately named Kiev target at the bottom there. But you can see it has a very similar geophysical signature to the very large Rothsay gold mine on the right-hand side there. And we've done some recent or relatively recent field work out there, soil sampling, etc., which will have some news coming up about. But we're very excited to get down there and test that one as well. Next slide, please. So I won't beleaguer this part of the story too long, but for those that aren't aware, this is what started our journey in the Calgary region. There is a very, very large, at least 15 by 3 kilometer scale alteration zone, which has known high-grade gold in it. And this is another example where the historic geology is just being updated by good field work and good technical analysis. And certainly we did some drilling there December the year before, and we got a meter at 5 grams. So there's substantial historic prospector activity out here, including some very, very high grade gold veins that are known about. And we're looking forward to exploring this more in the future. And we think this is the potential to be something similar to the De Grey Hemi discovery, and certainly it is a similar style of mineralization in that it's an intrusive related gold. Next slide, please. And I guess this is particularly relevant for this project, but it's relevant for all our projects. Is if we even get a hint of a serious resource at any of our drilling in this zone, we've got numerous processing options. So it's not like we're out in the middle of nowhere and hoping that we'll find something and then build a mill or whatever. If we can prove out something, that we could be in production very, very quickly. Next slide, please. The Messenger project is an extension of the Malaya project, so very similar geology, a long strike from where we just did our drilling. This is our least explored project. We did some drilling there Easter last year, and we found widespread gold throughout our drilling there. And this is well known as a high-grade gold area, but I don't think that it's been tested thoroughly, and let alone for base metals. And as you can see, there's a number of pretty serious operations right beside it. Next slide, please. So we also have a modest holding in the Mount Magnet region. You can see we've got the dark blue zone in the middle of the map on the right-hand side. That's our holding, and the dark green area, or light green area to the north of that is Ramelius Resources, which is obviously a multi-billion-dollar market cap company, and also we've got Genesis to the east in the purple. And this whole region's undergoing a geological renaissance where the focus on narrow vein gold is being moved away from, and understanding that these are, again, large scale intrusive related systems. And certainly some of the numbers that are being drilled in the last year or two, for example, Ramelius got 124 meters at 1.5 grams. That's not narrow vein, and neither is 74 meters at 1 gram over at Barramaya. So we know we have mineralization on our project. There's old workings that aren't on any of the government records, and the waste dumps of those are carrying gram gold in themselves. So we're looking forward to getting in there and drilling some of the targets that we've been generating later this year or early next year. Next slide, please. So we originally started our journey as a lithium company, and before we rebranded as Tempest, and certainly we retain a strong holding both in domestic lithium and internationally. We have some exposure to projects as well. Recently, we did some field work at our Rocky Hill project here, and we found some quite high grade both lithium and copper, which is unusual. And yeah, we're looking forward to finding out what that's all about. And in response to those results, we've also extended this project and pegged a bunch of new ground. And this ground has serious neighbours, including the majors, I believe Newmont, right beside us. So looking forward to getting back on the ground there as well. Next slide, please. So we've got a busy 6 to 12 months coming up to the end of the year. There's going to be a lot of these kinds of things, investor updates. We've got multiple drill programs planned, geophysics, as I mentioned, and that will be a strong driver for lots of news flow. Next slide, please. And that's how you can contact us on any of our channels should you wish to reach out and follow the story.
Thanks, Don. We've got some time for some questions. What role is, you mentioned technology and data, what role are they playing in terms of helping you commercialise what were once older assets?
Yeah, that's massive. There's a number of fronts there. Certainly I'm pretty nerdy and I like to push the boundaries on anything technology as a general rule. But specific examples are the Euro project, because as I said, there was multiple generations of drilling there and the data was never compiled into one cohesive story. And the minute we did that, we realized that, and we did that through our own database systems. And the minute we put all that together, we realized that there was a trend that no one had picked up before. And that's resulted in some good results of drilling. Malaya is another, I mean, that's the big one. Is I looked at all the data, realized that the geophysics didn't match the historic drilling and the historic geology maps. And we went ahead and drilled another mineralized system there. So.
And you're expecting some results from the labs. How busy are those labs at the moment? And can you kind of expect the Malaya results to be on time in the next couple of weeks or so?
Yeah, certainly. The labs have been, I'm sure many investors have heard this story, but I have a large degree of sympathy for them. Certainly before COVID, they were inundated with samples from some of the majors, and then they had staffing problems and this kind of thing. They're catching up, and that's a good thing. And we're expecting our results in the next few weeks on time.
And you're kind of spoilt for choice here. You know, you've spoken about gold, and then there's kind of talk of copper and iron and zinc. What actually are you looking for? What is your primary focus in terms of a resource?
I'm not a big believer. I know I get criticised for this on occasion, but I'm not a big believer in commodity-focused thinking. If you're looking in big-scale projects like we're doing here, certainly if you narrow your focus, then you can miss out on other things. And I can give some good examples of that from historic exploration companies. But certainly in the Calgary region, copper and gold are our main targets because we know that they exist there.
And we've actually seen, a big focus on lithium and companies rebranding. What role does lithium play with Tempest?
Look, it's still an important part of our portfolio. It's not our primary focus at the moment, but it is an important part.
Okay, Don, that's all we have time for. Appreciate you telling us the Tempest story. Good luck out there.
Appreciate having me. Thanks.
Okay, that's all we have time for this week. Thank you for your time. All the recordings of these individual webinars will be on Share Cafe next week and on